Imagine a place so cold that the human body struggles to survive. A vast ocean, where waves rise like buildings, winds blow at over 100 kilometers per hour, and water temperatures are so low that blood begins to freeze. A world of endless ice, where massive icebergs can crush even the strongest ships in moments. This is the Antarctic Ocean, one of the most unforgiving places on Earth. Yet, 111 years ago, when there was no advanced technology and ships were far less capable, a group of 28 men entered this frozen world. Their ship became trapped in millions of tons of ice. They spent not just weeks or months, but a full 2 years under open sky, surrounded only by ice, stormy winds, with food shortages, and no chance of rescue. This is one of the greatest survival stories ever recorded. The world has called it the greatest survival story of all time. Welcome back to Global Map Stories. The hero of this story is Sir Ernest Shackleton, a British explorer. His mission was to test the limits of human strength and endurance. That is why he named his ship Endurance. Shackleton had already attempted Antarctic journeys twice before. In 1901, he was part of an expedition but had to turn back about 750 kilometers from the continent. Then, in 1907, he tried again and came within 150 kilometers, but again, he had to return. Now in 1914, his plan was much bigger. He did not just want to reach Antarctica. He wanted to cross the entire continent on foot. Behind this, the reason was simple. Sir Ernest Shackleton wanted to achieve something no one had done before. That's why this mission was named the Imperial Trans-Antarctic Expedition. Because it was extremely dangerous, almost no one was willing to join. So, the first challenge for Shackleton was to find a crew. He wrote an advertisement and published it in the Times newspaper. This was not a normal job advertisement. The opening words were, "Men wanted for hazardous journey." It clearly stated, low wages, deadly cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger every moment, and no guarantee of safe return. Sir Shackleton wanted to attract people who were not afraid of risk. Soon he hired a crew of 27 men. He had planned this mission for 4 years. But as the time came closer, the dream started to fade because World War I had begun. Everyone thought the expedition would be canceled. But Britain, already at war, gave permission for the Imperial Trans-Antarctic Expedition to continue. For this mission, they needed an extremely strong ship that could cut through ice-covered waters. And luckily, such a ship already existed. A Norwegian company had built it for another explorer who wanted to take wealthy clients on polar bear hunting trips. But that business failed. Shackleton bought the ship and named it Endurance. Endurance was specially built with thick American oak wood. Its design was made to withstand very strong ice pressure. It was a hybrid ship with both sails and an engine. And finally, the day arrived. On August 8, 1914, Endurance left Plymouth, England. For the next 4 months, they traveled through the Atlantic Ocean. They stopped in Argentina, then South Georgia Island, completed final preparations, and on December 5, 1914, they headed toward the Weddell Sea in the Antarctic Ocean. Endurance carried 28 men and 50 large sled dogs, which were to be used to pull equipment on the Antarctic ice. The journey continued for 46 days. They were now just 1 day away from reaching the coast of Antarctica. But on January 18, 1915, the first major problem appeared. The ice layers in the Weddell Sea kept getting thicker. At one point, the ice became 18 feet thick. Endurance did not have enough power to break through it. In some places, the ice was too weak to walk on safely. The ship became trapped in the ice about 130 kilometers before its planned destination, Vassal Bay. At first, it seemed like a temporary issue. But this became the biggest obstacle for the entire expedition. For many days, they tried everything to free the ship. They decided to manually move the 300-ton ship forward. For 2 days, they cut ice and made a path, but the crew became completely exhausted. After many days of hard work, they moved the ship only 300 meters. Then it got stuck again. After 1 month of efforts, on February 14, 1915, Sir Ernest Shackleton accepted that they could not free the ship. So he decided to let the ship drift with the natural movement of the ice. He hoped that when winter ended, the ice would break on its own. During this time, Endurance served as a winter station. The crew continued their routine work. The only difference was that the ship remained in one place, but the crew's spirit stayed high. They spent their days in discussions, playing soccer, cutting each other's hair, and cooking, simply waiting for the ice to break and give them a path. As days passed, the men grew closer to each other. They even developed emotional bonds with the animals. Everyone hoped that one day they would reach civilization again, but nature had other plans. In April 1915, the ice began to break, but because of increasing pressure, ice layers started piling on top of each other. This was an unexpected event. Billions of tons of compressed ice began pressing on Endurance. At this point, freeing the ship from the pressure became the most important task. Everyone worked together to remove the ice. After several weeks of effort, this danger passed, but the threat remained. But on the night of July 14, 1915, a loud sound came from under the ship, and Endurance tilted to one side. No one knew what had happened, perhaps a whale or shifting ice. The night passed somehow, but in the morning, they saw something unbelievable. The compressed ice had not only tilted the ship, but the rudder, which is used to steer the ship, was completely broken. The crew had now been trapped for 7 months. They were at least 2,000 kilometers from any human settlement. No contact, no hope of help. Their only hope was Sir Ernest Shackleton. On October 18, 1915, the dreams of the Imperial Trans-Antarctic expedition were destroyed. For 9 months, the crew had been stuck in one place. Then one night, a sudden wave of pressure tilted Endurance 30 degrees to one side in an instant. The danger of leaking began, and water started entering through cracks. The crew worked all night to stop the water, but the support of the ship was coming to an end. On October 27, 1915, Sir Ernest Shackleton gave the order to abandon the ship, because this was the only way left to save lives. So they took out essential items, animals, food, lifeboats, bedding, everything. The entire crew moved onto the ice sheet under the open sky. The ship that had been their home for many months was now crushed under ice pressure and slowly sank into the water. Now the same question was in everyone's mind. How long would they have to wait on this floating ice? Sir Ernest Shackleton decided that staying here was too dangerous. He knew about Paulet Island, 550 kilometers away, where there used to be shelter and supplies, but 3 lifeboats were not enough to reach there. The ice that could crush a big ship would easily destroy small boats. So they decided to walk to the island. They began the journey toward Paulet Island, the most dangerous part of their adventure. For the next 6 months, the crew faced life-threatening dangers. The ice sheet they camped on either cracked or floated with the current. Luckily, these ice sheets were drifting slowly toward Paulet Island, so Sir Ernest decided they would reach it by floating on the ice. Food and water were completely finished. They eat whatever they found on the floating ice. They hunted penguins, seals, anything. By February 1916, 13 months had passed since they started. Their condition was so bad that they were surviving on just 1 biscuit at a time. While waiting for Paulet Island, the situation became so difficult that they had to kill their own dogs for food. Now they had enough for a few more days. They hoped to find supplies on Paulet Island, but the floating ice changed direction and started moving toward Elephant Island instead. For many days, the ocean was stormy. Temperatures dropped to -20 degrees. Many crew members suffered frostbite. Their mouths and tongues were so swollen that swallowing anything was difficult. Soon April 1916 arrived. With the help of the broken ice sheet, they somehow reached Elephant Island. For the first time in 16 months, they touched solid land. On Elephant Island, they took a breath of relief, but the island was completely barren. Staying here for long was not possible, especially with food supplies gone. And now, their only hope was South Georgia Island, 1,300 kilometers away. Sir Ernest Shackleton decided they would attempt this dangerous journey in a lifeboat. He selected a few crew members. On April 24, 1916, they left Elephant Island for South Georgia Island. This route is considered one of the most dangerous sea paths in the world. They faced waves up to 90 feet high. The icy cold was so severe that every part of the body started freezing. They had no GPS and no compass, only stars and sun for navigation. Despite full effort every day, they could not cover more than 80 kilometers. After 16 days, on May 10, 1916, Sir Ernest Shackleton and 5 crew members reached South Georgia Island, but they had arrived on the wrong side. In front of them were 4,000-foot mountains. After 36 hours of continuous climbing, they reached the other side, where a whaling station was located. Shackleton's condition was so bad that people at the station did not recognize him. No one believed that Sir Ernest, who had left almost 1.5 years earlier, had reached here in this state. After 3 days in South Georgia, Sir Ernest left again for Elephant Island, where he had left 22 men in bad condition. He made several failed attempts to reach them. Finally, on August 30, 1916, from far away he saw smoke rising on Elephant Island, a signal fire lit by the crew. Sir Ernest did not know how many were still alive, but as he came closer, amazingly, he found all 22 crew members alive and safe. On August 8, 1914, they had left England for the first time. After exactly 2 years and 22 days, Sir Ernest Shackleton brought his entire team back home safe and sound. Of course, he never completed the original mission. He had failed twice before to reach the South Pole, and in this expedition they got stuck 120 kilometers short. But this survival story gave him a place in history that he might not have achieved even if he had completed the mission. 107 years later, in 2022, the wreck of Endurance was finally found in the Antarctic Ocean. It still lies 3,000 meters below on the ocean floor, perfectly preserved. Even the name written on it can still be clearly read. I hope you enjoyed this story on Global Map Stories. Please like and share the video, and thank you for your loving comments. See you in the next one.